welcome to the next episode of the Good Human Project. In this one, we're talking about sales, and I want to talk about what it means to be a good human when you work in sales, because it's very easy to get manipulated, to use manipulation, and all the sort of things that happen just with the pressures of a sales environment where we may be working for a salesperson or sales manager or a business that really will do whatever it takes to get a sale. And, that's not what good human beings do. A good human adds value to someone's life, and it's about, getting the mindset where all you want to do is help them. And if you've got a product or a service that can truly add value, whether it's a small amount of value or even a large amount of value, that'll all come down to, price and benefits and the value that they perceive. But it's about being authentic as a human being. With all the sales training I've done over the years, I 100% believe in brutal honesty, transparency, and just, take that mindset where you truly focus on the person that you're in front of. It's not about you making sales. There's a real cause and effect that happens with sales, and if you are authentic and honest and you can really add value and you've got good enthusiasm and belief in your product and your company and yourself and what you do, and you really believe you're going to add value to someone's life, that natural enthusiasm and belief will come across as well. So let's talk about a little bit about reason why selling. And we're going to talk a little bit about language and the psychology of influence that happens with this, because this is a real rookie error that happens in a lot of companies. In fact, probably almost all companies I've ever worked with in the last 20 years, I've seen this. And from time to time, look, I've been in sales myself. I've done it myself, as everyone has. And the reason is what I'm about to share with you is something that happens with human nature. And here's how it works. So when you're fairly new, and the way even a lot of sales training occurs when you're particularly new, or even when you've been there some time, we tend to have this natural flow, if you like, of the way we present things. And it starts with feature. And you've all heard of the feature benefit sort of process that a lot of sales things are trained in. So it starts off with, a feature of your product. It could be a feature of your company. We've been in business for 23 years, all that sort of stuff. But essentially it's all about you. It's not about the prospect. It's not about the client. And we wonder why we do sales presentations that put our prospects to sleep. We're constantly trying to then get to the point where we can get and hold their attention. We keep seeing them drift off, their eyes glaze over, and it's because we're talking about ourselves. And it's because of this process where we talk in terms or in order of feature benefit. So this is kind of a very natural process. It happens with people when they lose their way with presentations, and they just, they might have a difficult customer that takes them off track or off script. And I believe in script chunks, not necessarily like word for word, scripts. When I started out in sales, we had an 11-page script that we all knew word for word, and our ability to keep that sounding very natural was amazing, really. But we did that, and that allowed us to sort of have a bit of a flow. But we also knew if we got thrown off track, we knew where to come back to, because we could kind of chunk it down. So I'm a big believer in script chunks, and I'm a big believer in understanding the psychology of language in a way that allows you to stay authentic and be able to flex and flow with the customer you're with. Because at the end of the day, if you can't hold a natural conversation, then you're not really going to gel with people. So you've got to be able to get along with a wide variety of people, and one of the ways to do that is really focus on them. So one of the ways to kill it is to do feature benefit. And look, naturally we're going to default back to feature benefit a little bit when we stumble. That's a very natural thing to do. So what we're trying to do here essentially is get to the point where we can influence them. And the only way we're going to influence a prospect or a client is by talking about them and what's in it for them. We've all heard that before. But this is what happens. So let's see this process. The ultimate goal here is to really get to the emotional reasons why, the motives, the reasons why people buy. in criminal psychology, they call it motives. In selling, we tend to call it reasons. But it's the reasons why people behave the way they do, why they make decisions, why they buy. Buying is a decision. It's an action. So we want to be getting to the end point where we're talking about reasons, and we want to be talking about strong reasons, compelling reasons, stuff that makes people get off their butt and do something different to make a change in their life that's going to make them better off. That's really what most products and services do, is ultimately add value to people's lives. And if you're selling a product that you don't believe in, or you don't believe adds values to people's lives, then get the hell out of there. I mean, your life is so short. You need to be doing something that's really authentic, and that's what being a good human is all about. So let's talk about this model for a second, because typically people go feature benefit and sometimes arrive at motive. So it's like a prospect sitting there being put to sleep. Here's a little bit of stuff for what's in it for me, and ultimately, here's why people get this, or here's why I should get this. That is not a good sales process. So what we want to do here is kind of flip this on its head a little bit, and we want it to look a lot more like this. Now, to do this in terms of language and to have this flow out of your mouth is going to take practice. In fact, you're going to need to literally sit down with pen and paper, write down a list of the features, write down the benefits, and write down the ultimate reasons why people buy based on that. But when you flip this model on its head and you practice this and you start to get good at this language, you are doing it for your prospect. You are doing it for your client, because now you're sitting there talking with them about them with things that prick their ears first. So it's like saying, here's how I can help you first. Here's why other people have bought this, because, and then you might explain a few benefits, and we achieve this with this feature. Now, when you do that in that order, an amazing thing happens. You constantly hold people's attention. The reason and the emotional reasons why people buy become like this appealing promise that is so powerfully influential that you can't help but grab people's attention and have them, riveted. And how do you do that? And then you explain the benefits and the feature that does that. What actually happens is the feature actually provides credibility to the promise that you've made up front. And, your benefits would naturally probably explain that. So it's a really powerful model. I highly recommend you walk away and put this into practice as a bit of an exercise. In most businesses, we find every salesperson can kind of name their top 6 objections. They can name their top 6 reasons why people buy. But if you want a little free primer, check out this. It's called Reason Why Selling. And it's a list of 90 different buyer motives and emotional appeals that cause people to buy. It's a big one-page bullet list of these 90. It doesn't go into any explanations, but it will spark so much creative outflow for you to be able to really look at all the features and benefits you've got and the ultimate reason why people buy. So I hope you enjoyed this short little blurb on being a good human. Stay authentic, be cool, and see you on the next one.